March 7th, 2020, Cory Booker and Jerry Springer. Volunteers want to do vet work and releases. This is an email from one of our volunteers who is an Enneagram 7. Carole, I listened to your spoken message that you sent us a while back again because I had a lot of thinking to do. Being in the appreciation team, you know what you want to do, but making every single individual feel appreciated all the time can be difficult, especially when you have 80 plus active volunteers with different needs and goals and desires. I think every so often you need to take a step back and remember exactly why you, as an individual, are working for Big Cat Rescue. Why are you there? I did that these past weeks. For the first time in 7 years, I didn't work extra hours at Christmas because I was feeling extremely overwhelmed. I had taken on too many tasks in my life, and I was drowning in anxiety. I need to take some time for myself, which I know is important for everyone to do from time to time. If we are there for the common goal, to end the trade and give the cats the best possible life they can while in captivity, then you will find ways to be happy. Just stepping into the sanctuary makes me happy, and sometimes you have to look past very small, petty things and see the big picture. That is my goal for this year. And yet, I know it is not always the same for all. I see that you make an extreme effort on Workplace to show your appreciation. It is noticed, and we, are truly grateful for all the time you take to reach out to various volunteers or as a group and recognize achievements and/or give thanks. I realize that it is difficult for you to approach each person individually, and I know that none of us wants you to feel uncomfortable. I also know, no matter what the appreciation team does or says, if it comes from you or Jamie, it will always mean a lot more. I feel Jamie has a lot more disciplinary actions to take, so it may be difficult for her to give thanks at the same time that she is upset about something that may have happened at the sanctuary. But even just a small thank you here and there really helps. I have talked to several volunteers personally to get a feel for what makes each person happy. I always get a lot of different answers, and I think a lot of the things we have done really help, such as project cards, kudo boxes, and the lovely gift cards, buying lunches and parties. Even the coordinator reports with the shout-outs has helped. I have thought through a couple of things that I keep hearing over and over, and I am having trouble thinking of ways to make this better. But bringing light into the situation, I feel, is important, because I know you want to hear about it. In fact, you need to. There are 2 things at the sanctuary that every volunteer loves and wants to be a part of, but many feel they won't or can't be able to be a part of it. 1 is procedures, and 2 is the Bobcat Rehab Program, or releases. I realize Dr. Justin has a strict schedule and may not be able to work any other days but Monday. But could it ever be possible for him to work on a Sunday or a Saturday? There are so many volunteers that want to help, but work during the week and cannot be there, which takes me to the next issue. Is there a way to post or announce which Mondays there will be procedures ahead of time? I know a few volunteers specifically took off on a Monday to come in only to be told there were no procedures that day. If we could get a system in place ahead of time, to know what days there are procedures and ask volunteers beforehand, and also pick them ahead of time, maybe more people could get in there. I know Jamie takes note of who goes into each procedure, so she should know who hasn't gotten a chance, or who hasn't been in a procedure in a long time. I know this might seem small, but this kind of thing volunteers love, and it makes them so happy. As far as the Bobcat program, I am assuming only a certain amount of people can train to take care of them. Is it not something that can be reached out to more volunteers? Is there a way more volunteers could become active in this? And the releases. A huge complaint, and I hear with this, is the policy. If you are already volunteering, you cannot be part of a release or a special procedure. All this does is punish the people who sign up ahead of time, and reward the people who sign up at the very last second. It should go based off of who hasn't been to a release or in a procedure the longest. I spoke with one particular volunteer on the last release of Ash and Cinder who was so sad. She had never been on a release, but because she was volunteering, she couldn't go. I realize this is such a small thing, but means so much to volunteers to be part of these things. I know we don't want to take volunteers off property, But if we reached out to extra volunteers on those particular days, I know some will step up to help so that others can get a chance to do something that maybe they've never done before. I know I would. These are just thoughts and suggestions because I hear both of these things a lot. We will continue to figure out ways to make volunteers happy, but I do realize volunteers must find ways to make themselves happy as well. I know it is frightening to reach out to you and Jamie, so I am trying to do that for some who may not feel comfortable doing it. Thank you for taking the time to read my extremely long message, but this has all been on my mind, and I have been trying to think of ways to work it out in my head. Have a great week, Carole. This was my email back to this person who was an Enneagram 7. Thanks for letting me know. It's impossible for Jamie and me to be responsive to volunteers' needs if we don't know what they are. My New Year's resolution is to get back into the weeds. I default to what I'm good at, envisioning the future and learning new ways to get there. I am awful at the tedious tracking of volunteer and staff hours and enforcing all of the protocols we have instituted to keep things fair and safe. I'm going to try to relieve Jamie of those tasks this year because it isn't fair to her that people blame her for holding them accountable. They can hate me because it doesn't bother me to be hated, or it does break Jamie's heart and spirit. It means I have to give staff and volunteers as much as I can in the way of praise and privileges without creating situations that are unfair or unsafe. Your suggestions are helpful to that end. I'll see what we can do to integrate your suggestions, but I'd like you to know why things are done the way they are currently. I probably need to address this to everyone if it's a site-wide issue. Mondays are the only day Dr. Justin is able or willing to come do procedures. We pay him to do it. He works full-time for the Humane Society of Tampa Bay, and now has taken on the responsibilities of raising a family. Where he used to have 3 days a week, he could play, fossil hunt, or help at the sanctuary. Now he only has the 1 day. We've offered to pay Dr. Wynn to do a day, but she's got her practice and is raising her own kid. She comes out once in a while now, but I never know until she's on property that she's coming, so we can't plan around that. And a lot of the time she has Jenna, so we couldn't do a procedure. We are trying to get them to train other vets to come in, but they haven't had the time or the desire to do so. Most of the time, we don't know until the day before which cats the vet will be seeing. I usually get a text to the vet care team on Sunday from Catherine, asking what cats she should hold back from feeding. The cats usually only give us a day or two notice that something is up, and we never know if it's a passing thing, most of the time, or if it's getting worse and requires sedation and diagnostics. We don't play loose with the cats' lives and sedate them unless it's really, really important. You've been here long enough to have known cats who never woke up after the simplest of procedures. Even when we do know a day or so ahead of time, we don't announce it, because people pile in to participate in that when they would not have cared enough to come and help clean cages or give tours. That's not fair to the people who showed up, thinking they were going to do something hard, but instead got to do something novel. If you log into the overhead cameras on Monday mornings, you will always see Jamie asking who is on site and comparing it to her list of people who haven't got to experience vet work or who haven't done so in a long time. Depending on the size of the cat, they use that criteria to bring people in. We are almost always so short-handed that it means something else is falling through the cracks so we can bring people in to comb the cat. I don't understand how people can be saying both that 1, they aren't alerted to come in special to help with procedures or releases, and 2, if they are already here, they can't go. Both procedures and releases are usually chosen from the group of people that are here. If Jamie has enough notice on releases, she will often post to Workplace to try and get people to come in who weren't already scheduled to work, because it's often a long way and leaves the sanctuary short-handed. Believe me, it's been a constant frustration for Jamie and me that some people schedule themselves and are reliable, and others breeze in and out. I don't know how to fix that, because some people legitimately have jobs, like waitressing, that have varying days, but others are just waiting to see if anything more interesting comes up before they come to help the cats. It's not fair to reward that kind of behavior, but we don't have enough reliable people to force that level of commitment on the others. Maybe we could use that criteria for selecting people to do the fun things, but it's never going to be fair to those who can't control their schedules. A lot of the release sites only let us bring the minimum crew and won't allow photos or videos, and we frequently are looking for months for a release site. So when we finally get one, we want the cat to get back in the wild ASAP and don't have a lot of time for planning, reviewing 80 people's work records, etc., to make sure that people who haven't committed their time to the rehab program get to ride along. Rehab bobcats need care 7 days a week, so I'm guessing Jamie would like to have 7 people at all times who can provide care. She needs people who are willing to take a day and cover that day, come hell or high water. Lots of the latter, but most people just want to do it when it's convenient for themselves. People who do make that commitment are always at the top of the list to go on a release, along with those that we need for the purpose of perpetuating our good work. We often send Brittany to go live and Afton to film, because without those photos, videos, and live broadcasts, we can't fund the work. Victor usually goes because the release sites are often miles out into uncharted territory, and if the vehicles break down or get stuck, he's going to have the skills to get everyone moving again. Florida law requires that any time a wildcat is transported, a licensee has to be present. Those permits are all under my permit. Only a handful of the Bobcat team are on that permit, so someone like Karma or Catherine can go pick up an orphan bobcat kitten without me or Jamie having to go. If it's a situation where a bobcat could hurt someone or could run out into traffic and cause a fatality, then Jamie or I usually go too. If it's a big cat that could be released during a traffic accident or an act of God, Jamie or I go because my license is on the line. Instead of seeing this crew as being necessary to every release or rescue, I think some people prefer to say that it's Jamie's clique. That's not fair to her. She didn't pick these people to have the jobs they have. I did. I always consult with her on who to hire, but the buck stops here. I'm the one that says the first 4 people on every rescue need to be a license holder, a mechanic, a videographer, and someone to go live if possible. We try to base the rest of the participants on those who have shown the most commitment to the cats and are available. When you spend that much time, especially in difficult or dangerous situations, it's natural to form bonds of friendship. I can understand everyone wanting to be in that inner circle, both in big cat rescue events and Jamie's personal life, but entree to that has been based on who demonstrated those skills and willingness to work for the low wages we can afford, not on Jamie's or mine personal preferences. Just so you know, you were on my short list for the gift shop job, but Erin placed a little higher on the list because she had already stepped up to be a coordinator, and she has shown up at the advocacy events without me even asking. Managing volunteers and getting the big picture, which is that we can only end the abuse by changing laws, not rescuing more cats, is why I chose her. I do appreciate what you do for the cats, and especially that you will come to me and let me know when things can be approved. Carole. In other news, Howie and I had a tour and dinner with Kathy Unruh and her husband, Tom Sansone. I've known Kathy since the mid-90s when she did a story on the founding of the sanctuary in her role as a reporter for WEDU. We've been around Tom a few times at the fur balls and other events, but she could never really talk at those things due to all the music. I was very excited to talk to him about the AR and VR work we are doing, and he says some of Jabel's 30 companies are working on the tech to make it happen. He is also meeting with 6 Republican senators next week, and one is McSally, who was a co-sponsor of our bill when she was in the House, so she could be an easy win for him at the event. He seemed happy to try. Earlier in the day, I gave a tour to Rebecca Weiss-Sauerman, who is Stu Fauerman, founder and CEO of KnowBe4. She brought her family from Sweden, and Howie was at the doctor, so I gave a tour to the 6 of them and really thrilled them with the Oculus Go videos. Sunday, we went to a fundraiser for Cory Booker in Longboat Key. That was the photo. I am so impressed with him. He is a vegan, cares about animals, cares about integrity, and big picture politics. Howie created a hat for him that said, "Bringing America Together Again," and it turned out that was exactly his message to the dozen or so of us who came to support him. We had already sent him $1,000 from Howie's account, so I sent him $1,000 today, and we made our $5,000 contributions to the HSLF PACs today too. We met Jerry Springer, photo, and I was or photoed here, and I was surprised at what a gentle person he is. His criteria for a president is someone who can be both strong and kind. Never saw that coming, given the Jerry Springer Show's notoriety for causing conflict. Gerald Norman Springer, born 13th of February 1944, is an English judge, television presenter, former lawyer, politician, news presenter, actor, producer, and musician. He hosted the Jerry Springer Show, a tabloid talk show, between September 30, 1991 and July 26, 2018, and debuted the Jerry Springer podcast in 2015. He currently hosts a courtroom show called Judge Jerry. Future note: a week or so later, Cory Booker dropped out of the race when he wasn't able to secure a spot on the debate stage. It takes a lot of money to get there, and he just wasn't able to raise it, but I think he will be back. Howie and I both almost didn't go to this fundraiser because we've been so sick. We wouldn't even hear about the COVID-19 virus until March. Our symptoms were exactly what was described, and since it was the first time I'd been sick in forever, I wonder if we had been exposed to it early on. I'm writing from March 15, 2020, quoting the news. On January 7, 2020, Chinese health authorities confirmed that this cluster was associated with the novel coronavirus 2019 N-CoV. Although the cases were originally reported to be associated with exposure to the seafood market in Wuhan, current epidemiological data indicate that a person-to-person transmission of 2019 N-CoV is occurring. As of January 30th, 2020, a total of 9,976 cases have been reported in at least 21 countries, including the first confirmed case of 2019 N-CoV infection in the United States. If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.